The first one up here is Japan's 8342. First flight took place on the 8th of March 1995. Last one took place on the 13th of August 2020 when it came here to Victorville. Now that's only 25 years old, and you might be thinking, why, that's not that old for a 67300, but I would suspect that it's due to its frequency of flights, and in particular the cycles, the pressurization cycles. A plane like this would have been mostly domestic. It would have taken off and landed so many times. So I'm guessing it's not so much the age that it retired at 25, but the cycles on the aircraft. That's just my guess. Next up here is United Airlines November 181 UA 747-400. First took off on the 3rd of October 1991. Last flight was sometime in October 2017, which puts her at the age of 26. There's nothing too remarkable about this aircraft other than the fact, of course, its tail is missing, the vertical stabilizer there, and you might be wondering why. Well, the reason why that happens is because in a place like this airport, anything that extends above a certain height and is within a defined closeness to a runway has to be submitted via paperwork to the FAA and get red lights put on it and declared as an obstacle. So it's just easier just to cut the freaking tail off. Why go through all that stuff? And that's why they do that. Next pair of miscreants here. From what I can tell, the one on the left is Bravo 222 uniform. That's Beijing's 222 uniform. And it's got quite an extensive history on it. Now, it didn't really fly under that flag or under that tail number. But it used to be that aircraft was November 634 Sierra Whiskey for Southwest Airlines. And that plane was born on July 24th, 1996 and died there in September of 2017. All right, so now what else do we have about it? Well, on the 4th of August in 2015, this aircraft, when it was operating for Southwest, encountered a very severe turbulence occasion over Tampa, Florida. And they ended up actually injuring a flight attendant. They had to divert the aircraft and take it back down. And the aircraft the flight attendant was hospitalized for a little bit, but she was ultimately okay, so that's good. Now the one on the right here, that's got a lot more history to it. November 387SW. Let's get into it. That plane was born on the 16th of June 1994 and died there in August of 2017. And here is a good story about it. On the 13th of July 2009, this aircraft was operating flight 2294 from Nashville, Tennessee to Baltimore when about 34,000 feet, 24 minutes into the flight, a hole 1 foot by 1 foot opened up on the top of the fuselage and all of the pressurization was instantly gone. And then there's a Qantas A380 sitting in the background with its tail chopped off for reasons mentioned earlier. Alright, let's move on to the next ones. This one is pretty cool. This is a 1998 767-300. It originally delivered to Skymark Airlines in Japan. Then it went over to Rossiya, the Russian airline, registered in Ireland though. And then it was given this last livery Royal flight here that you see in the picture here. Now, this is a cool story about this aircraft. When the Russian sanctions came into play, this aircraft was stolen from Royal Flight and delivered back to America, which I think is pretty fucking cool, if you don't mind my saying so. They weren't exactly sure what to do with it, so they just ended up leaving it here and parting it out, which is cool, It's a lot of the pieces went on to better places, possibly Delta Airlines or other 767 carriers like that. Up next here is Canadian's Golf Oscar India Whiskey. Now, this looks like one of the newer Neo A321s. And although Air Transat hasn't had the best finances since COVID, they are also impacted by the Pratt Whitney geared turbofan bullshit that other airlines have been having. So that's why these aircraft are parked here in Arizona. Right, so what's next? Let's see. Oh yes, November 195 Alpha November. Oh yes, let's get into this one. And by the way, I know a lot of American Airlines pilots, and they all say that it was a huge mistake for them to get rid of this airplane too soon. This one was made in 2001, and it only served at American Airlines until 2020 during the coronavirus pandemic. This is owned by AirSail, which is a capital finance company now, and it was converted to a freighter by AirCap, which is a subsidiary of AirSail. But there was no takers on this freighter conversion, so it's been sitting here since then. I was told that FedEx was interested at first, but their finances are not doing so well either since COVID, and so yeah, they didn't take it up. Here's a good one for you. November 451 Double Alpha here. This is a 1988 McDonnell Douglas MD-82. And looking at the detail there, one side is missing, but the other side is still drooped. And did you know that these aircraft used depleted uranium as a counterbalance for that T-tail elevator back there? I did not know that until just a few years ago, and that's kind of peculiar and freaking weird and cool at the same time. This one doesn't have any accident history on it. It served a good long life, and it was retired and been here since 2010, right in that spot since 2010. It almost looks like you can just slap a pair of JT8Ds on it, fire it up, and let's go. But I would love nothing more than to trespass one day and go inside of that thing and just waddle around. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? Here's another one of those sad 5-year-old Neos that are just sitting there collecting dust because of the Pratt & Whitney bullshit. Nothing much to say about that one. Here's a good one. This is France's Hotel Tango India Charlie. This 330 here started out as Deutschland's ALPC and flew for LTU from 2002 until 2011. Then it went to Air Berlin with the same tail number there, and then became Azure here in 2018 and stored the next year, 2019, here in Goodyear. There's a story about this one. So when it was operating for Air Berlin back in 2017, there was an incident in February of that year where this aircraft reported smoke in the cockpit, and the passenger did indeed smell smoke in the cabin. Passengers, rather. The aircraft diverted. It was on its way from Dusseldorf, Germany to Cancun, Mexico, but it ended up diverting into Florida somewhere. And the funny thing is, well, not so funny, but there was no hotels in Daytona Beach at that time because of the spring break that was going on. So they had to accommodate all the passengers. There's about, how many did it say there was? 215 people had to stay in the airport, and they got cots for them, or they got some, mattresses and covers. They did take care of them, man. And then American Airlines provided an A330 to kind of, pick up the passengers later on the next day and take them on to Cancun. So that was pretty cool. The aircraft that American provided was November 271 Alpha Yankee, which has since been scrapped. American does still own A330-200s as of this recording, but the 300s, they've been all scrapped. Here we got a banana here. The last time this banana flew a passenger was on October 13th of 2024 from Nashville to Detroit. I've talked about this one extensively, and it's just been sat here. They painted out the name of it because it's slated to go somewhere else, but we just don't know who is going to have it yet. Now, when I see a plane like this, it's a beautiful looking 757, and it irks me so bad to see. This is a 1995, and it was parked here in 2015. 20 years old, that's all it was. If you can't make money with a 20-year-old 757, I don't know what you're up to, what you're doing. You're doing it wrong, man. Now, the feds had grounded this airplane in late 2014 because apparently there were panels that were cracking and falling off the plane, and no one could figure out what was coming from. So the feds grounded this plane, and American just said, you know what, fuck it, we're just going to take it out of service. And so that's what happened. But they didn't even bother fixing the problem, it wasn't a big deal. Interior panels. Here we got November 910 Alpha Whiskey. This was delivered to America West in 1989, and then it was acquired by U.S. Airways in 2006 during that merger, and then it became an American Airlines jet in 2015, but they never bothered to keep it. They didn't even paint it. They just fucking got rid of it the following year in 2016, where it came here to Goodyear, Arizona, and then subsequently got scrapped. The pigeons certainly love it, though. Check it out, man. They're all over the place in the cockpit, on the doors, on the top there. The pigeons are certainly loving this aircraft. Wouldn't you? Oh yeah, so this airplane flew for about 25 or 26 years. It doesn't have any accident history on it, so that's good as well. Right, so this bird habitat here used to belong to American Airlines at first as November 650 Double Alpha. It was delivered to American in July of 1991, where it flew until 2014, where it was taken up by National Airlines, and give the tail number of November 567 Charlie Alpha. And although National appears to have been mostly a cargo outfit, this looks like here it was fitted for passengers or charter operations. They stopped flying this plane in 2018. Alright, next up we've got, what is this thing here? This is this is a 300, a 747-300. And delivered to Singapore Airlines in 1985. It was given the registration 9 Victor Sierra Kilo Kilo. And then in 1999 it was taken up by African Star Airways as Zulu Sierra Oscar Kilo Kilo. Then it went to Air Atlanta Icelandic in 2001, and it was given the registration of Tango Foxtrot, Alpha Tango Golf. And then in 2002, Corsair took it, and it's given the tail number you see there. And this aircraft has been stored here since 2009. Wow, pretty cool. Alright, that's that one. Alright, finally, listen, we got this one here, Beijing's 2057. This aircraft only completed 16 years of service. Now, I don't know how you can't, especially the Chinese. For contrast, United Airlines flies the oldest 777 on the earth. It is coming up on 31 years old, and they're still operating it. This one was parked here when it was only 16 years old, so how the fuck does that, I don't get that, dude. Like, I don't see how they couldn't, whatever. I digress, but here's a little bit on this aircraft. It was delivered to China Southern in 1998, taken out of service in 2014, and my only guess as to why they would do something like this is that it was more valuable in parts than in service. So maybe they parted it out and they made a lot of income that way. That makes sense, I guess. Alright, and finally here we've got some aircraft that, let's see here. We've got some Spirit aircraft that have been parked here originally due to the Pratt & Whitney engine bullshit. I doubt they'll ever fly for Spirit again. They're probably going to go somewhere else, but here they are. They're unremarkable. There's nothing really to be said about them. And of course, still going to be there'll be some airplanes out here that we already talked about. But yep, that's it for this little video. I love going to these Boneyard airports because there's so much history there. If you're an airplane geek like I am, and you see these aircraft just sitting there, I always want to find the history of it, see what it's been through, and there's just so much humanity associated with it, in my opinion at least. And of course, there are also some some aircraft here that I didn't capture in this video that were really, really cool. 777s, there was a DC-10, a lot of 737s, more planes that have been converted to cargo, and a DC-6 that I didn't present here. But yeah, lots of cool stuff. Alright, thanks for watching. Peace.